Picture this. In your town, city officials actually repair the potholes in the street. Or let's say a big box store is proposed to be built in your backyard and you want to find out the details but can't make the planning commission meeting. You can look online to view the proposal, review comments, and add your own. When you feel there's an issue, your representative actually discusses the issue with you and you know you've been heard and considered. Citizens notice flaws and come up with suggestions to fix them, and the government is happy about that. Willing. Ready to let the citizens take charge of their community and of their everyday lives. These are just a few of the idealistic possibilities that Gavin Newsom discusses in his book Citizenville. Gavin Newsom, former mayor of San Francisco and current lieutenant governor of California, discusses the current state of politics in this country and how by using new technologies people can create change and actually interact with the government. While at points this book seems to be laying ground for a presidential run, its premise of creating a modernized participatory government gives inspiration and hope. Newsom argues that the way the United States government is currently run is antiquated and dysfunctional, and I'm sure most people in all parties would agree with that. While the rest of the world has changed how it runs, the government has not. In part, this is due to technophobia. There's fear surrounding technology in that it's expensive, it's always changing, and it may make information too accessible for government comfort. Technophobia in this country runs long and deep. In fact, it took until 1960 before the first presidential debate was televised, which is a full 9 years after television networks spanned the nation. Government also runs in a hierarchical structure. Yes, we vote for our representatives, but once they're in, they run the show. We can send them emails until we're blue in the face, but the fact is that once they're in office, they do what they want, and there's no way to tell if our voices have ever been heard. Even in the minor offices, there's a strict structure of who can do what, and often superior approval is required before any changes are made. With technophobia and hierarchical structure also comes a lot of bureaucratic red tape, which means that the people at the top, who are often scared of new technologies, make the rules and put up the barriers that make it difficult to implement change. Add to the mix how difficult it is to actually gather data from the government, and we have some real issues. Don't believe me? Go to your city or county's website and try to find your neighbor's parcel number so that you can find out what the property is zoned for. Chances are, the parcel map is in one spot, the parcel number in another, and the zoning code in yet another. Now, whether that is done on purpose or not doesn't matter, but what does matter is that it happens. Government data is not easily and readily available. To deal with these issues with our government, Newsom suggests that ordinary citizens need to embrace the technologies they have and take matters into their own hands. We own the government, our taxes pay for everything, so we should have a say in what is going on and how. Newsom notes that when people have the control, they can create new ideas that are useful. For example, there's Code America, a nonprofit that matches tech-based people with government projects. Code America developed a website in Boston that maps snowbound fire hydrants so residents can make sure that they're functioning. There's the intern in San Francisco who noticed that the people who run the municipal transportation agency still use clipboards and walkie-talkies to communicate bus schedules. She created an iPad app that replaces the clipboards and in which citizens can report problems in real time. There's also the Community Health Status Indicator, which is a public dashboard that lets people know how healthy their community is in one glance. Newsom contends that when the citizens create the ideas and the change, then the politicians will listen and act, which in turn will inspire the citizens to keep creating the changes that they seek. The issues the government faces are very similar to issues that many of today's libraries face. For example, many libraries are run in a hierarchical structure. People at the top who make the decisions are often not aware of how their changes, or lack thereof, affect the users or their employees. This type of system makes a lot of red tape as well. If someone on the bottom rungs of the hierarchy had an idea, they'd have to share it with those on top, who in turn need to get the go-ahead from those above them. This is a lengthy and time-consuming process, and nothing gets done quick enough under such circumstances. Like the government, libraries can be prone to technophobia. Libraries have very limited funds, so there's not a lot of money allocated for investing in new technologies. Furthermore, due to budget cuts, librarians are given more work and responsibility, which doesn't leave much time for them to investigate new technologies. However, by embracing a user-based participatory structure, libraries can combat these issues. Libraries, like many other government entities, should be places where citizens can easily see how they're run and why choices are made. Citizens should be able to comment, suggest, or complain about all of these things and have a voice in how they would like to see their libraries run. Information should be readily available and easy to access. And I'm not talking about books being easy to check out. I'm talking about things like minutes from the library board meeting being available online, with space for citizens to discuss the agenda items. Libraries should promote patron ownership. Patrons are the users. They know what they want. Their participation, not only in the form of suggestions, but in the form of actually creating useful technologies, should be welcome. Gavin Newsom cites an excellent example of citizen innovation in Citizenville. He discusses a tech designer named Mike Magursky. Mike was injured and off of work, so he poked around on the City of Oakland's website. He was disappointed in their crime data, so he created a whole new website which got its data by scraping it from the Oakland Police Department and placing it on a Google map. While the Oakland Police Department originally wanted to shut Mike down, they eventually embraced his mashup and allowed it to stay up. It resulted in Oakland having a state-of-the-art crime website without having to pay specialists or wait for approval. It also allowed citizens to know exactly what was going on in their neighborhood, and it held the police department accountable. Lastly, it resulted in more contracts for Mike and the company he worked for. It was a winning situation the whole way around. Now imagine the possibilities if library patrons were that actively involved in the library. With that kind of user control also comes a sense of user pride and ownership. Patrons will be more willing to return to the library and use their library if they knew that they were a welcome, active part of it. It's a win-win situation when users have control. Users create the change, whether it be new apps, new community websites, or a library rating system. The users, in turn, gain a sense of pride and ownership with their library, thus continuing their use of it and possibly continuing to think of new ways to help. It's engaging the users, creating conversations. As Gavin Newsom says in his book, "One way is dead, two ways the future," and he couldn't be more right.